Hello friends, I'm Chromaticsauce and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to watch me draw. The first thing I did for this drawing was find a few reference photos to use to make my composition. So I just got a couple lovebirds on top of a heart, and then I just chose a couple colors for the background, and then I got started on sketching. First I used my pencil just to sketch it out. If you make any mistakes, you just gotta erase them and tweak things. If something's completely wrong, even if you finish drawing the whole thing, erase it and move it. That's the thing about art. Sometimes you draw something perfectly and it's just in the wrong spot. So if you want to be dedicated to having your drawing look right, you got to just keep redrawing it. So after I was done with the pencil, I just outlined everything with a marker. I let the marker dry fully before I went in with my eraser to erase all of the original pencil markings. I didn't want any pencil left. The first thing I was coloring in was going to be the purple parts of the heart. For this, I wanted to make it a little bit darker, so I used the coral color that I was going to use for all the red shades as a base. And I just colored in all the purple areas with that coral shade. Then on top of that corally color, I went over that with the blue color that I'm going to be using throughout the drawing. And I just went over top of that whole coral. Now I'm avoiding the lines here because the black will smear, so I'm just trying to stay inside the lines as much as I can. And the reason I'm putting this blue color on top of the orange color is so that the color of these areas stay a little bit more in the purple family. Now, when you're layering markers, it's important to pay attention to the order. Since I put the bluish purple on last, that's going to be what's most prevalent to the eye. If you wanted it to be a little bit warmer, you would do the orange last. So then I'm taking that coral color around on all of the red parts of the heart. This is going to be the base color for all the red. I could have used a red marker, but I didn't want the image to be too heavy. I didn't want my drawing to be weighed down by the really deep dark red that a marker would have given, and there's only so much you can do with colored pencil on top of a really dark marker, so I decided to go a little bit lighter with some of these colors on the heart. Then I used that same blue color from before to line all the blue veins. Now these veins are purple in my reference photo, but I'm going to leave them blue. After I filled in those veins, I took a brown color to shade the entire heart. Once I felt like all my base colors on the heart was done, I decided to start on the birds. You can see here on the beaks, I'm using this nice reddish orangey color. It's a really pretty color. For this one, I was being a little bit stingy. I didn't want to use too much of the orange, since the orange is one of those really dark colors that's hard to brighten up. And I figured I would just go over that with colored pencil, so I didn't go too far out with that color. Then I took a dark green to shade the darker green wing on the side of that bird, and I also used this green for all of the really dark, more black areas of the feathers. Then after I had all the dark green in there, I went in with the light green just to fill in all the green areas left on the feathers. And then once I was done with the green, I went in with the yellow to fill in the rest of the yellow spots. And then a lot more of the lighter spots around the face and the head. In some spots I did leave white just because I wanted a little bit more of the paper to show through for this one. So for the feet and the side of the face there, I did leave the feathers white, and I'm gonna go over that in the future with some colored pencil. Once I'm done with all the marker colors, I go ahead and grab an ultrafine marker, a little bit finer than the one I did for the outline. And I'm just using this marker to make some hash marks for shading. Now when you're doing these hash marks around the tubes and things like that, you want to follow the shape of the tubes for the arteries and stuff. You want to give the heart a rounded appearance. So that's why you see a lot of my lines are either going parallel to the lines of the veins, or they're curving around the shape of the heart and the veins. And I just do that for a little bit of extra shading. I did it mostly on top of those darker brown areas, and I really deepened it up. I just kept going over it till it was dark enough for me. I tried to get the majority of the darkness in the faces with this marker. So for the really black areas of the face, I did make hash marks, and I did opposite directions with even hash marks. But for around the rest of the face, I just did hair strokes to build up a little bit more depth with the color. And then I took an even finer marker to help accent the feathers and make little hair-like lines across the whole body. Obviously leaving gaps and just using the hash marks to help me shade and add a little bit more detail to the birds besides just a flat color. Once I was done with all my hash marks, that's when I grabbed the colored pencils. I started off with a dark green to shade a little bit more dimension into the bodies and to the wing of the bird. And I also went a little bit back and forth with a really fine marker just where I thought a little more detail was needed. Every time I realized I need a little bit more depth in a certain area, I just grabbed the marker again to add a little bit more shading. While drawing these birds, the main thing I was doing was adding the same colors on top of the existing colors. I just tried to vary the colors. I tried to add a little bit more depth to the colors, and the main thing I was doing was blending the colors together. Now, when I went in with the marker, I was very sloppy. That was the point of it. The point was to go over it with the colored pencil. So I just did layer by layer on top to add a little bit more depth to the color of the marker and to really round out the shades and the colors of the birds. Once I was done with a lot of the lighter colors, I did go in with a black colored pencil to lightly shade. Now, none of these colored pencils I'm not pressing hard with any of these colored pencils. I'm going very lightly over it. I'm going very lightly over the whole thing. And then I use a really light blue colored pencil to color in the tops of the feet and a little bit of accents along the wing and things like that. Then when I moved on to color in the heart with colored pencil, I started with the red first and I wanted to color in the veins. For the veins, I wanted to press really hard. I wanted the color to be very vibrant and poppin'. But I did leave a little bit of a gap in the middle of the vein. That way I could run a white right down the middle and it would be a little bit more dimension. It would give the vein a little bit of a highlight so it looks like the middle is sticking out. Once I was done coloring in that vein with a lot of pressure, that's when I started going over the rest of the heart with a very light amount of pressure. I didn't want to completely cover my work with all the markers. I just wanted to add the red shade across the whole thing. So I slowly built it up, doing pretty light pressure throughout. I didn't press too hard, but I wanted to make sure there was a full amount of pigmentation there. Once I was done with the red, that's when I took a blue. Now, I think I said earlier that I wanted these veins to be blue instead of purple. So I'm using a gorgeous royal blue, and I'm doing the same thing I did with the red veins where I pressed hard but left a light area in the middle so that I had some room for white. And basically I just blended that all together. Once I was done shading the veins with the blue, I felt like the heart needed a little bit more, so that's when I took the red colored pencil again. And pressing hard this time, I went over parts of the heart with little veins that I just added in myself. I just made little wiggly lines everywhere. Then once I was done with the red part of the heart, going onto the purple part of the heart, I think I just used a darker violet color and a little bit more of a magenta color, and I went back and forth with them. And I put a layer of both of them. You can see I accidentally forgot the marker part of that top area, so I added the brown marker at that point. But I basically just shaded over that, and I think I did a layer of red on top of there too. Once I was done with the whole drawing, I fixed up all my outlines where the colored pencil went over it first, and then I took a really bright highlighter color yellow to outline the entire drawing. And then I took that original blue marker to outline over and over again the image until I reached the outside of the paper. I wanted these lines to be visible in my drawing, and this is how it turned out. Let me know what you think of this drawing. Please like and comment. Please share the drawing. Let me know, did you prefer the drawing without the background or with the background? I'd love to know your thoughts. You can follow me on Instagram at chromaticsauce. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.